In this video I am taking a flight from Heathrow to Larnaca with British Airways, and I'm upgrading from economy to BA's Club Europe product. The economy seat cost me £77, the upgrade was £230, so the total cost of this flight is £307. I want to see whether that £230 difference actually stacks up against the added benefits, and whether it would feel worth it depending on what you personally value when you fly. Some people care about space, some care about food and drinks, some care about saving time, and others just want the cheapest seat. Let's get down to Heathrow, shall we? I will see you there.
Well, good morning everybody from a very cold and dark Heathrow. It is also silly o'clock in the morning. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do on this journey, I'm not going to go through it and come up with a verdict at the end. I'm going to go through this stage by stage, all the way from check-in through to the onboard experience. And what I'm going to try and do is separate real cost from personal preference. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll get an idea as to whether you think BA's Club Europe is worth the upgrade from economy. Now there's going to be tangible costs that I can put to the certain benefits, but then there's going to be other ones which are more difficult to assign a cost to. And I guess from that perspective, that is where the personal preference part is highlighted. Right then, I need to go and get a bus, and I shall catch you at the terminal. See you in a mo.
So the first benefit when flying Club Europe is that you get dedicated check-in desks, so it's generally quicker and calmer. If I was flying economy, I'd be using the standard check-in, which is fine, but I guess it can mean queues at busier times. There's no real direct price I can put on it. It's more about time and stress and how much that matters to you.
So I've only got hand baggage only. It's really quiet this morning, so as an overall benefit, I would say priority check-in. I could take it or leave it.
The next benefit actually directly links to check-in, and that is the baggage allowance. With Club Europe, you get 32 kilos per person. Now, if I'm travelling solo, this honestly isn't a big benefit for me. I rarely get anywhere near the standard allowance, so in that situation, it doesn't really add much value. However, travelling with a family is a completely different story. A wife and 2 teenage girls and 23 kilo baggage allowance suddenly becomes a real consideration. Now for me, here, the value isn't taking more stuff, it's just the peace of mind. Knowing there's headroom if a case is overweight or you need to reshuffle things at the desk removes a lot of stress. But if you travel light, you're probably going to put very little value on it. If you travel as a family, I actually think this could be one of the most valuable parts of the upgrade.
Now that is something that could make a lot of sense, considering when you take into account on this specific flight, an extra bag would have cost 65 quid.
Next up is fast track security, and I think this is the first thing I can put a real tangible value on. Now with Club Europe, fast track security is included on your ticket, and if I was flying economy and wanted this, I'd have to pay Heathrow $12.99. And for me personally, I do appreciate being able to get through security and not having to wait around in big queues, especially at busy times.
Now, moving on to something that always makes a difference, definitely in my case, food and drink.
And that is lounge access, of course, and this is one of those benefits that can mean very different things to different people. For me, it's just a nice environment to be in before a flight. You're away from the noise of the terminal, there's space, it's calmer most of the time, and that alone has value for some people. Food quality is generally good as well, but I want to be clear on how I'm actually judging this myself. I'm not valuing this as a £30 or £40 lounge pass. I'm valuing it at what I'd realistically buy anyway if I was sat in the terminal. This morning it's breakfast, so you've got coffee stations, fruit, pastries and the usual hot items, plus soft drinks and alcohol if you're that way inclined at 6 in the morning. For me, that probably replaces breakfast, a coffee and maybe a drink. So that's what I'm putting into the worth it meter, not the lounge itself. And I'm going to value that at 20 quid.
big thumbs up from me on that one. I am fed, I am watered, even more so than I would have been if I'd have stopped in the terminal. So happy days. Now nearly time to board. Let's crack on. Gate A11, let's go.
And now we move on to the final ground experience with Club Europe, and that is priority boarding. So you're on the plane earlier and you're settled before the main rush. Now there's no monetary value here, it's more about preference again. Some people like boarding last, some like getting sorted early. I personally don't really see the point. We're not going anywhere any quicker, and it just means I've got to sit around for longer. I for one couldn't really give a damn about this, but it's included, so I'll take it. Now, this is one of the few soft benefits where I am going to put a number on it, and I want to explain why. This is a 4.5 hour flight. I'm in seat 1A, there's no one in front of me, and crucially, no one next to me. The seat itself is the same as economy, but having the space to yourself for 4.5 hours completely changes how the flight feels. I'm not saying this seat is worth 35 quid, I'm saying that personally I would pay around 35 quid to guarantee this level of space on a 4.5 hour flight. You know, and people routinely pay that sort of money for extra legroom seats, seat selection, or to avoid being cramped, and I think this gives you more than that. So at this point, remember, I've added up the things I would genuinely pay for anyway. We are running at about £68. When it comes to food and drink on board, this is another area where I'm going to make direct cost comparisons, but I want to be really clear how. In Club Europe, food and drinks are complimentary. In economy, they're not. You'd be buying from the High Life Café menu. So rather than guessing, I'm going to compare this directly against what I'd normally order from that menu if I was sitting in economy. For me, that's usually a hot item and a couple of drinks. So I'll use the actual High Life Café prices as the benchmark. So on the approach to Larnaca, let's wrap this up properly. My final total on my worth it meter came to £141.89. That's the £230 upgrade cost minus the things I would genuinely have paid for anyway. So in real terms, I've effectively paid £141.89 for the additional comfort and experience on this flight. Now, the one thing I haven't put a price on, but absolutely should mention, is the service in Club Europe. It's definitely more attentive, and I think it does make a difference. And a quick shout out to Daniel and Graham, who were fantastic today. I also didn't include the £65 value I talked about earlier for the baggage allowance. On this trip, travelling solo, it really wasn't a factor, but travelling as a family, I can absolutely see that being a genuine benefit. And this is the most important thing. These numbers are just my personal valuations. They're not right or wrong. You might value different things or value the same things very differently. The whole point of the video was to show you the process so you can decide whether an upgrade like this makes sense for you. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and if you're interested in another take on short haul business class, I've also got a review of Iberia business class on their A320 from Madrid to Heathrow, and you can click that on the screen now. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I shall catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.